My name is Michael Turner, and this is my story. I am a 40-year-old man. I work in an office, and I live a simple life. I am married to my wife, Laura Turner, and we have 2 children. Our daughter is 14 years old, and our son is 11. We live in a small, warm house. It is not perfect, but it is our home. Every morning I go to work, and every evening I come back home. Laura cooks dinner, and the children talk about school. We eat together and watch TV. Sometimes we laugh, and sometimes we are tired, but we are a family. I always thought my life was stable. I never thought it could break. One evening, I sat alone at the kitchen table. The house was very quiet. Last month, everything felt normal, but now I felt something was wrong. I closed my eyes and tried to rest. The next day, I came home from work feeling very tired and sick. I had a bad cough for 3 days, and my chest felt heavy. I had little energy. At work, my coworkers looked at me and said I should see a doctor. I knew they were right, but I kept saying I was fine. When I entered the house, my wife Laura was in the kitchen, cooking dinner. She looked at me and asked if I had a bad day at work. I nodded and told her I felt sick and tired. She listened carefully and then told me I had to see a doctor. She said my cough sounded bad. I did not want to argue with her, so I agreed and said I would go the next day. A few minutes later, our children came home from school. Our daughter was 14, and our son was 11. They laughed and ran to their room, and their voices filled the house. I watched them and smiled. Then I looked at Laura. She looked calm and kind, as always. She took care of the children and the house every day. At that moment, I felt safe, and I did not know how fragile my life really was. The next morning, I went to the clinic. The doctor examined me and told me I needed a chest X-ray. After the test, he looked serious and said I had pneumonia. He told me I needed to go to the hospital right away. I did not want to stay in the hospital, but my body felt weak, and my cough was getting worse, so I agreed. At the hospital, they gave me a bed near the window. I tried to read a book, but I could not focus. My head felt heavy, and my thoughts were slow. Then the door opened, and a nurse came into the room. She called my name, and I answered. Her name was Emily Carter. She was young and very beautiful. She had blue eyes and a soft smile. She did not wear makeup, and her face looked natural and gentle. She explained what the doctor had said and told me I needed rest and medicine. I nodded, but I did not really hear her words. When she stepped closer to the bed, I noticed a light, pleasant smell of perfume. It was soft and clean, not strong at all. She was wearing a white nurse uniform, simple and neat. Her white skirt moved slightly as she walked, and she wore thin white stockings. She looked healthy and full of energy. Everything about her felt calm and gentle. I did not say anything, but I felt impressed, and my heart started beating faster. I wondered if this feeling was love. I had never felt it in a place like that before. I stayed in the hospital for 5 days. Every day, I saw Emily, and my strange feelings slowly grew. I learned that she was married, and that her husband often came to meet her after work. I saw them together, and I felt uncomfortable. I did not like that feeling, but I could not stop it. I tried to be friendly. I smiled and made small jokes. Emily smiled back, but she was always polite and professional. She never crossed the line. On my last day, I asked her if I could have her phone number, only in case I needed help. She hesitated for a moment, then gave it to me and said it was just in case. When I went home, Laura smiled and hugged me. The children were happy to see me. Everything looked normal, but inside my mind, I kept thinking about Emily. A week passed, and I could not sleep well. Her smile stayed in my thoughts. even when I tried to push it away. 1 week later, I made a mistake. I could not sleep well at night. My mind was full of thoughts about Emily. I told myself it was nothing, but the feeling stayed. One evening, I took my phone and called her. I said I needed some injections and asked if she could help me. She told me I could get them at the clinic, but I said I trusted only her and asked her to come. After a long pause, she agreed. I told her to come when my wife was out and the children were at school. When Emily arrived, I opened the door quickly. I did not think about my actions. I hugged her and kissed her. She was shocked and pushed me away. She shouted and told me to stop. She asked what I was doing, but I did not listen. My head was full of wrong hopes. At that moment, the front door opened. My wife Laura came home early because she was not feeling well. She saw everything. She did not shout, and she did not cry. She calmly helped Emily fix her clothes and told her she could leave. After Emily left, Laura looked at me and spoke quietly. She said there was no need to explain. She said she would take the children and leave, and that everything was over. I wanted to speak, but she was already packing. I sat at the kitchen table and said nothing. After that day, my life slowly fell apart. The house felt empty without Laura and the children. 3 months later, I could not focus at work and lost my job. I stayed at home all day and stopped caring about myself. 6 months passed, and sadness followed me everywhere. I barely spoke to anyone, and every day felt heavy. 1 year later, my health became very bad. I was back in the hospital again. It was the same hospital where I had met Emily before. When I arrived, I looked around and hoped to see her. I asked about her, but no one knew where she was. It seemed that she had moved to another place or to another hospital. I felt disappointed and empty. In that moment, I wished I could see Emily one more time. I stayed in bed for many days. Each day, my body felt weaker and breathing became hard. My thoughts were slow. The doctor spoke to me softly, and I understood that my condition was serious. I knew I did not have much time left. One night, I lay very still on the bed. I had no energy left in my body. I knew I was dying. I had no hope anymore, and I felt very tired of everything. I did not want to fight, and I did not even want to live. As I lay there, my mind became very clear. I remembered my life before all the mistakes. I remembered my wife's smile and my children's voices. I remembered how happy we once were together. I knew I loved my family very much, but I had lost them. My body felt cold, and my breathing became slow. I felt myself going deeper and deeper into darkness. I stopped thinking, and I stopped feeling. Then, I knew nothing anymore. Then I felt a gentle hand touch my arm. I heard a soft voice call my name.
Michael Turner.
I opened my eyes slowly. The light felt bright, and my heart was beating fast. For a moment, I did not understand where I was, so I asked what had happened. Emily stood next to my bed and looked at me with concern. She told me I had fallen into a deep sleep because of the medicine. She said I was still being treated for pneumonia and that I was safe. I looked around the room. The window was there, and the bed was there. Everything looked the same as before. My breathing slowly became calm. Little by little, I understood that everything after my mistake had been a terrible dream. Emily asked if I was feeling better. I looked at her face again. For a short moment, the old feeling tried to return, but the dream was still clear in my mind. I remembered the empty house, the silence, and the loneliness. I looked away and said I was fine. 5 days later, I was healthy and allowed to go home. When I opened the door, Laura smiled and hugged me tightly. The children ran to me and laughed. The house felt warm and alive again. That night, I lay in bed and stayed very quiet. The dream was still clear in my mind. It felt real, like something that almost happened. I did not feel fear anymore. I felt grateful. I slowly turned my head and looked at my wife sleeping beside me. Her face looked tired, but calm. In the next room, I could hear my children breathing in their sleep. The sound was soft and warm. In that moment, I realized how much happiness I had. It was already here, in my own home. I told myself to value it and remember it every day, because sometimes we look at other lives and forget our own. What I felt in the hospital was not love. It was only a weak moment. Real love was already here, with me, every day. I reached out and held my wife's hand. I did not wake her. In that quiet moment, I promised myself not to wait until it was too late again. Some people learn the truth when they lose everything. I was lucky. I learned it before I did. If you enjoyed this story, thank you for listening until the end. On the Learn English Level 3 channel, we share simple English stories about real life, real choices, and real feelings. Each story helps you practice English and think a little deeper at the same time. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. A new story is coming soon, and it will be even more touching. I hope to see you again in the next video.